Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of A Life of KG. Have you read the book Profit First? If you have, you are going to love that I've got this guest on the show. If you haven't, then you need to go and add it to your Amazon basket and buy it because it's absolutely incredible. It changed my business. I teach it to all of my clients, and I just love the way how it makes such a huge difference within the business and finances. So I have Danielle on the show, and she works alongside Profit First, and she has multiple businesses. She's super successful, and she talks about the Profit First method, but also we talk about her employee systems that she has because she has many teams also. There is giveaway at the end, so listen all the way through to the end, and I'm sure you'll love it. Really take notes and implement what Danielle says, and you will notice a difference within your business financially. If you have a team or if you're thinking of building a team, also take notes because what she says is really, really true. I know that from experience. So without further ado, here she is. Danielle, welcome to the Life of KG. How are you today?
I'm doing fabulous. Thank you for having me, Katie.
You're so welcome. I'm loving the accent. Where are you from?
Well, I'm from California, Southern California. So it's where I was born and raised.
Oh, I love that. I haven't been there yet. It's on my list. So
Come visit.
Definitely. So can you give us an intro and tell everyone what you do?
Sure. So I am Danielle Mulvey, a former flight attendant turned entrepreneur. I've been actually an entrepreneur for 25 years. My husband and I have several businesses that do over 50 million US in annual revenue. But my passion is Profit First. And Profit First is a DIY, do-it-yourself cash management system for business owners. And it really transformed my husband and I's businesses. We had different opinions on what we should do with the cash in our business. And when I came across Profit First, I was like, this is it. Like, we can both agree on the system. It's not my opinion versus his opinion. And then I became connected with the author of Profit First, 𝐊𝐞𝐲 𝐓𝐚𝐤𝐿. And so like now we used to run in the same entrepreneurial circle. So we kind of come from like the same entrepreneurial upbringing and such. And so today we are business partners, Mike and I. I'm the host of the official Profit First podcast, Profit First Nation. I am his go-to when he does a keynote. I do the follow-up workshop with attendees, and we are collaborating on his next book that is coming out in December 2024, tentatively titled All In: How to Get Your Employees to Act Like Owners.
Oh, this is very, very exciting then. You must have had such a journey working with Mike.
Yeah, it's been fun. Like I said, we kind of grew up in the same entrepreneurial circles here in the US. Did the same programming and such, and so really kind of have come through the entrepreneurial ranks at about the same pace, the same type of experience and such. And so it's fun to have a partner in crime who just kind of really has experienced the same ups and downs. I like saying that being an entrepreneur is like riding a roller coaster. There's ups and downs, twists and turns, and sometimes you're upside down. But you're okay as long as you stay on the track, right?
Mm-hmm, for sure. So going back to being a flight attendant to then turning into entrepreneur, how did that happen?
So I did my gap year after I graduated university, and I was a flight attendant for about a year. And it was not the job for me. I wanted to travel. I wanted to take a little bit of a break before I got into my real world job. And so that was a lot of fun. And I learned a lot of lessons. One lesson that has been instrumental from what I took as being a flight attendant to what I do in our businesses today is, do you know, Katie, why airplanes don't fall out of the sky? Why is it the safest form of travel?
Oh God, this is a trick question. Isn't it the turbo so quick that it just doesn't fall? I don't know.
No, you know what it is? It's because the pilots have to follow a checklist. So there is a checklist for every phase of the flight, and the pilots have to follow a checklist. That's why they have that big box with them. They've got everything in there, and they are literally having to follow a checklist, which means everything is getting done perfectly, consistently, every flight, every time. So regardless of whether a pilot has 1,000 hours of commercial experience or 5,000 hours of commercial flight hours, they always have to follow a checklist. And that is why airplanes don't fall out of the sky. And that's why it's really so important. If you want consistency in your business, if you want your employees thinking and acting like you and prioritizing the right things, they should be following a checklist. Even with us, I mean, profit first, really, on your allocation day, you're to a certain degree following a checklist, following the steps to doing profit first right every allocation day.
I love that. I love that. So those that are listening that most probably haven't even heard of Profit First before, can you explain how Profit First works?
Sure, exactly. So Profit First, as I mentioned, is a DIY, do-it-yourself cash management system. And what's helpful about Profit First is it really gives you a true real-time view of the cash in your business. So, we most often work with a bookkeeper or an accountant. They keep our financial records in place. They reconcile our accounts at the end of the month, and then they give us the financial statements for the month prior. But that's a rear view mirror view of your business. You can't go back and change what you spent the month prior because that's already done. Profit First gives you a real-time view of your cash. And so, regardless of what country we're in, there is a generally accepted formula for calculating profitability, and that is sales minus expenses equals profit. The problem with this equation is that we prioritize expenses. It's sales minus expenses, and then what's left is little to nothing. It's profit. It gets marginalized. And so in Profit First, we just simply flip the equation and we say sales minus profit equals expenses. And by prioritizing profit, we're going to be profitable. And then what's left over is what we have to spend on the business, the expenses. And so it's just flipping the equation that helps us prioritize profitability. And you don't have to be a bookkeeper. I'm not saying that you need to start doing your books and things like that. But as a business owner, only you can make the decisions between spending and saving. And that's what it takes to be good with money. Am I going to spend this money or am I going to save this money? When you spend that money, that's an expense. And that means that's not going to be profit. If you save that money, then that is going to go towards profit, right? So it's a bit of, I like to say a Jedi mind trick. It's the way that you look at your business. Funny thing is that money is 10% logic and 90% emotion. So, we have a lot of stories in our head. We think we have to spend money to make money. So that's why we prioritize expenses. But if we can squash that emotion and just focus on the logic and do a system like Profit First, then you'll be more successful with money. So Profit First, I'm sorry, this is more than a 3-minute explanation. So Profit First then is based off of operating your business on multiple checking accounts. And so right now, most businesses are operating out of one business account at the bank. And the problem with that one business account is you say, oh, how much money do we have? And you log into your bank and you see, oh, we have this much money in your one business account. And so you think, oh, well, we have money to spend. But that is not necessarily the case. In Profit First, we require you to have 5 business accounts at your primary bank. And they are your income account, your profit account, your owner's pay account, tax account, and operating expense account. So those are 5 accounts. And what happens is as customers pay you, that money goes into your income account and it sits there and you don't touch it. And then on your designated allocation day, so the book recommends allocating on the 10th and 25th of the month. in our businesses, we have biweekly or fortnight payroll. So every other week. So we do our allocation days on the Wednesday prior to a payday on Friday. And on your allocation date, you're going to go and look at what your balance is in your income account. And then you are going to allocate based off of your current allocation percentages in Profit First. You're going to allocate a percentage to profit. We allocate to profit first. Then we're going to allocate a percentage to owner's pay because you have to pay yourself. You are your business's most valuable employee. Then we're going to allocate to tax so that we can cover the taxes that we owe on the money that we make. And then what's left over is we're going to allocate to operating expenses. And then that's going to tell us how much money we have to spend on the business.
I can actually say for anyone that's listening, I do exactly this. Like since reading the book, I do exactly this. And everyone that I mentor, I also now teach them this. Like I've told them to read the book and this is what happens. And it really, really helps because it was in the book, actually. It was the analogy of a tube of toothpaste, wasn't it? And I always share that because it was, correct me if I'm wrong, if you have a tube of toothpaste and it's a fresh tube, you just use it. You're not really particular on how much you're using when you brush your teeth every morning and night. But then when that toothpaste goes and you haven't been to the shop yet to get a new tube, for some reason you're squeezing it out, it's like kind of lasting, but there's not a lot in there. And that's what the bank account's like.
Exactly. That's the most brilliant, perfect explanation, Katie. You totally get it. Yes, that is Parkinson's law. That the empty tube of toothpaste represents Parkinson's law. So, you know, when we have a lot of time, we spend a lot of time. When we have a little bit of time, we crank it out, right? And the same thing with money. When we have a lot of money and we see we have a lot of money, we spend a lot of money. When we see we don't have a lot of money, we get creative, we get resourceful, we get by with just a little dab of toothpaste, because that's all it takes. It doesn't really take a big glob. We can get by with a little dab of toothpaste. And the same thing with money. You know, when you talk about implementing Profit First, I mean, you know, if you want to take a baby step to it, just open up one more account at your bank, open up a profit account. And with every deposit that comes in, put 1% to profit and start building that profit muscle. Because I guarantee you can run your business on 99% of what you've been running it on if you're allocating 1% to profit.
Why do you think people just don't even think of profit? Like, surely we go in business to make money, etc., but then they completely forget about profit.
You know, I think it's that emotion, you know, and I find entrepreneurs especially just want to help people so much, and they want to help people almost at the sacrifice of themselves. And so we think, well, if we spend money, all of a sudden we're going to finally get to that pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. Like, if we keep spending money, all of a sudden we're gonna make money. And what's so funny is, and kind of tragic is we think, okay, well, to solve our money problems, we'll just sell more. But the interesting thing about that is that when you just sell more, you're exacerbating kind of like the problems that are underneath the hood. There are only two ways to increase profitability. Number one, increase margin. So raising your prices. And number two, decreasing expenses. So, you know, it's a combination when you're implementing Profit First of, you know, making sure that your prices are keeping up with inflation. I think that's kind of a big challenge. A lot of businesses tend to price themselves on the lower end, which means that they're not making much margin, and they're doing a disservice to themselves and to their customers. They're attracting also to kind of the wrong customer, the less loyal customer, the price sensitive customer. And then it's about watching expenses. And I find, especially a lot of businesses that spend dollars on marketing their business, tend to just be spending money on marketing and not really measuring the success of that spend. So in Profit First, we recommend that a key metric for marketing is that every marketing dollar should produce a 6x to 10x return on that spend. So if you're spending 1,000, then you should be seeing a 6,000 return on that 1,000 marketing spend.
Interesting. And I think a lot of people, because the industry I'm in is the beauty space, that's beauty, hair, aesthetics, product training, and a lot of people within the industry don't even know how much money they make. They'll go, well, my money just goes to the accountant sorts it out. But it's really important for anyone in business to still know their figures. You don't have to do bookkeeping. You don't have to do whatever else involves accounts, but at least know what you're bringing in every week, every month, every year, so you can separate them money pots, because otherwise you just can't run your business properly.
Yeah. So confession, and really one of the reasons why I do this, why I host Profit First Nation, why I talk to entrepreneurs every day about their business is when I started my first business, I was 25 years old. I had no idea what I was doing. And I thought, well, I'm really good at the marketing side and working with customers, but I never took an accounting class in college, whatever. I'll just hire a full-time bookkeeper in-house, and I'll work with the city's largest accounting firm, and then they've got it handled. And if there's a problem or an issue, they'll tell me. That was my mindset. And I think that we, most business owners, operate, as I say, with their head in, like an ostrich with their head in the sand. And we think, oh, well, we don't know it, so we'll give it to other people that know it. But the problem with that is that the bookkeeper and or accountant, they can't make the decision to spend or save the money. They're just helping you be compliant with your numbers. They're putting the numbers, the credits, the debits in the right boxes in your accounting software. So you have to own the financials of the business that you own. You don't have to do the bookkeeping, like you said, but you have to own those decisions of spending or saving. And, that's why Profit First is so great. I mean, I have full-time staff across my different businesses in accounting departments. But when it comes to allocation day, they send me what I don't even log into the bank account. They send me the income balance for the business that it's the allocation day for. And I plug that in to our handy dandy Profit First calculator for allocation day. And boom, it does the allocations for me. And then I send that spreadsheet back to them. It takes me a couple of seconds. But what's important about the couple of seconds, or really a couple of minutes I spend on it, is by seeing how much income is coming into the business, I know how we're doing, because I know on average what we should be having in our income account on every allocation day. And if that number is low, then that triggers me to say, hey, what's going on? Well, like, we need to peel back the layers. Are people late in paying? Were sales slow for some reason? What's going on here? And then, if the income amount is higher than average or what's expected, I need to recognize that this is an abnormality. But thankfully, because Profit First is a percentage-based system, that percentage-based system helps you normalize the cash flow. So when you have, higher income balances one allocation day and lower income balances another allocation day, that percentages based system allows you to kind of normalize that cash over the year, because that's kind of the problem. Sometimes, when we have an extremely large sale or something like that, and we have more money in our bank account than we normally do, we're like, we're rich, we can spend money. And that's really not the case. That's not the normal. That's the exception. And we have to be careful not to treat it like the normal, that we're all of a sudden a new level of business.
Definitely. Let's switch up and talk about staff and teams, because I know
Sure.
you specialize in this area. You do have a 5-star employee rating system.
Yes.
Can you talk to me about that a little bit more?
Yeah, absolutely. So as I mentioned, Mike and I are collaborating on his next book. And so that's kind of like the other secret. So once you get Profit First implemented in your business, the interesting thing is, as you grow and as you add employees in your business, your largest expense, especially at like 10 or more employees, becomes your payroll.
Yeah.
And your expenses, remember, make or break you in terms of your profitability. So, what we've discovered in working with entrepreneurs is, they're profitable, and then they start getting bigger and they start growing their employees, and then their payroll balloons, and then they start losing a grasp on their profitability. And so the real problem is that when you have employees who, what we call 1, 2, or 3-star employees, average, ho-hum, or worse employees, they're a drain on your payroll, because it takes 2 or 3 1, 2, or 3-star employees to do the work of 1 5-star employee. And you pay the 5-star employee the same you would pay a 1, 2, or 3-star employee. So you could have 1 5-star employee that you're paying $50,000 to. But if you have 1, 2, and 3-star employees, it's going to take you 2 3-star employees at $50,000 each. So you're going to pay $100,000 in payroll to have 2 people do the work, unless you had 1 5-star employee for $50,000. So you really have to never settle when it comes to recruiting and hiring. You want the best talent, and a 5-star employee represents the top 15% of available talent in the market for the role. So 1 in 7 candidates is a potential 5-star employee, and you want to be really objective. This is where it's hard, and this is why a rating system is important. I mean, if given the choice, and you're going to go on a fabulous vacation and you're doing some vacation planning, are you going to pick the 2 or 3-star hotel when you could be staying at a 5-star hotel for almost the same price, right?
You're always going to go 5-star.
Same thing with employees. You don't want to settle for that 1, 2, or 3-star employee, because you know what, to be honest, it's not the right role for them. And everyone has a 5-star role, maybe 2 5-star roles. I'll be honest, Katie, I was not a 5-star flight attendant. I didn't love it. I didn't have a passion for it. Like, I did the job, I kept people safe. But I clearly was not a 5-star flight attendant. I'm not a 5-star bookkeeper either. I know enough to be dangerous about bookkeeping, but it's not my passion. I'm not a bookkeeper. I'm not an accountant. But I could get a job tomorrow as one, but I'd be a 3-star, 2-star bookkeeper. But I'm a 5-star entrepreneur, because that is my passion. That is where I'm really good at. And that's where everything comes naturally and such. So someone isn't necessarily, a 3-star employee in life. It's just finding that right fit for the role where they're a 5-star employee for that role.
If someone hires someone new and it takes that person time to warm up in the company, etc., and especially in our industry, they're building client bases. How soon would you look for what star they're at? Like, what is that timescale you'd give to be like, no, actually they've got to go? Like, do you give them a bit of a settling in period, or can you find out straight away?
So, what's really, really important is is that you set the success metrics for what success looks like in the role before you start the recruitment process. So we recommend that you define the 3 to 5 key responsibilities for the role, and then you objectify. You put a number, you put a metric, a percent, a dollar sign, just a straight up number to what success looks like for the role. So if you're hiring a stylist, and that stylist needs to, be booked at 80% of their capacity at least a week prior to that week, and they need to do this by, after being there 3 months, they need to be hitting that metric. Then, you need to have a ramp up plan for them, and you need to say, okay, like, we're going to start giving you the call-ins, that call in, but then you need to start developing those people, and you need to get them to be coming back and booking the next appointment and such. And so as the owner, you have, or the manager, you really have to figure out, like, what does it look like, each step of the way? How are we going to get this new stylist on the floor from point A to point pay. And you know, how many weeks is it going to take? How is she going to graduate up there? So we have, how boring is this compared to your fabulous industry? We have a claims processing business where people are processing claims. And when we say, hey, here's what we need from you, and this is from the job posting through the interview process, through training, we're talking about you have to have 98% procedural accuracy, 98% financial accuracy, and you need to be processing 42 claims a day. When they come out of their 6-week training, we say, great. Okay, now here's what it's going to be. We're going to be reviewing all of your claims until you start hitting that 98% accuracy level. And to start with, you're not going to be able to do 42 claims a day. So we're going to start you at 27 claims a day. And then in 2 weeks, we're going to bump you up to 30 claims a day. And then, and so we're watching that and we're measuring it and we're monitoring it, but it's very clear to the employee what success looks like. And it's clearly defined that you're not going to go from point A to point K overnight. And you're not going to get there without a little guidance, a little support. So it's really the job of the manager or the owner to define this success, get it really mapped out, and then hold them accountable. And if they can't make it, then they're the wrong person. And, you know, you don't have to give someone, I love it when they say, so should we give someone 6 months? And I'm like, why? What's going to change in 6 months? Like, you should be able to see change quickly. We don't give someone 6 months to go from, you know, coming out of training and processing 27 claims to getting to 42 claims. Like, we're giving them 2 weeks to go from 27 to 30. All right. We're giving them another 2 weeks to go from 30 to 33. So like, you have to be watching it and monitoring it. And I would say that, you know, if someone can't make it to the 30 claims after 2 weeks, then, you know, okay, we need to get a little bit involved in that. We need to kind of be watching them to see what happens as they're processing claims over their shoulder, help them figure this out, because we want them to be successful. And if you do this recruitment and you do this hiring well, then your new hires will succeed. We just recruited for 3 people in this claims exam position. And, you know, a lot of people are thinking, well, do you hire like a bunch of people to go through training and then you kind of, people don't make it, and then what you have is who you go forward with? Or do you fire people in training? And I'm like, oh my gosh, we've never fired someone in training. Like, because we have such a good, solid, objective process in hiring, using the 5-star employee rating system to figure out if they're a 5-star hire. You know, when they go through training, when they come out of training, they're successful because we've taken the time, we've defined it, we've set them up for success. And we also haven't settled for someone who, you know, says in an interview that, you know, they're distracted by their cats and they want the job because they can move to Illinois. I mean, literally, we came to the end with a candidate, and like the last questions that we asked them, like the answers were just like, you're not the right person for this job. Like, you're not passionate about this job. Like, this isn't exciting to you. You just want it because you can be at home with your cats and play with them during the day. And you can move from, you know, Indiana to Illinois.
Yeah. So it all really then comes down to the interview process, doesn't it? And the recruitment process.
Yes.
What would you get people to look for during that process?
So you really want to spend a lot of quality time with the candidate. So, you know, I'll run through really quickly, the 5-star employee rating system. So the first thing that is the foundation of the 5-star employee rating system is alignment with core values. And these are the core values, the true 100% of the time core values of the owner. So a lot of businesses are like, oh, we've got our core values, but they're really groupthink values. They're aspirational values. They're not true 100% of the time. So you want to understand what your 3 to 5 core values are that are true to you 100% of the time. You want to have clarifying statements about what you mean. It's not just a word, because we can have different interpretations of words, but you really clarify, like, this is our core value and this is what we mean by it. And what that does is that's the secret to cloning yourself. You know, because if someone shares your core values, that means that they kind of have the DNA that will think and act like you, the owner. So that is really the foundation, is determining, is there alignment with core values. The second is we've identified 11 universal qualities of a 5-star employee. And in those 11 universal qualities, 2 are coded green, which means they're relatively easy to change. 2 are coded red, which these ones are like huge red flags. If someone doesn't meet what you're looking for in these 2, and that is being limber, because as a small business, we need people who are limber. We need people who can go with the flow. We need people who might need to stay late or work another shift. And we need people who listen, and they're active listeners, and they're listening with all their senses. Then the third rating factor is aptitudes and skills. So you need to identify, 9 to 13 specific aptitudes that you need for the job. You need to test the skills that are needed for the job. And really, just because someone says they can do it doesn't mean they can do it. I could get a job as a bookkeeper telling people how fabulous I am as a bookkeeper, but if they don't test me, then they wouldn't see that my skills aren't so hot as a bookkeeper, because I'm not a bookkeeper. And then the fourth criteria are the success metrics. So, is this person fully understanding of what success looks like in the role, the key responsibilities, and then are they good with, yes, I'm confident I can hit 98% procedural accuracy, 98% financial accuracy, 42 claims per day. I'm confident that I can, get 80% of the people that come to me for their first visit to rebook their next visit with me before they leave. And then the final one is return on payroll. And so, you need to make sure that the individual is going to be producing a 3x to 4x return on what you're paying them in terms of their salary.
Because that's what lots of people miss. At the last point, we talk about quite a lot in our industry. They need to be hitting 3 times their wages, because if they're not, you as a business owner, you're really not making any money off them, are you?
Not at all. Nope. Yep,
no,
you're exactly right.
Quite scary when people do their actual figures and they see how much return that therapist or hairdresser is bringing them. If they're not hitting 3 times, then you need to look into that a bit more. If someone is listening and thinking, oh my God, I don't have 5 stars, or I have 1 5-star person, but I have like 2 or 3 2 stars, maybe even 1 stars. Yeah. What would you get them to do? Because I think a lot of people go, oh, I feel bad. They're in a job. I can't get rid of them. Like, what would you say?
I would say that individual is not happy either, and that's the uncomfortable part. I mean, people want a job, but if they're not knocking it out of the park, they're in the wrong role, they're in the wrong salon, they're doing the wrong thing. Because when everyone is really good at least one thing. And so they need to find what they're really good at. I wasn't really good as a flight attendant. I'm sure, like, we've all had jobs, where it wasn't us. I mean, clearly, Katie, now you are in your like just zone of genius and knocking it out of the park. But let's be honest, I'm sure you've done jobs along the way when you were younger that just weren't the ideal fit for you. And so it's really about finding those people that are passionate. One thing that I would recommend, in your hiring process is having people shadow in the business. Spending a good like 4 or 6 hours at least one day, seeing what the culture is like, seeing how they assimilate, seeing if, you can give them an assignment and see how they perform. And, you kind of want to throw wrenches into the thing and see, how limber are they? Are they really listening and such, to really test out if that candidate is an ideal fit for the position and your company.
Because you can get them to do that, can't you, before you physically hire them to test it out?
Yes. So, I mean, I recommend paying them. So, I mean, it's not like you're paying them $1,000 for the day. But you are compensating them for their time. And it's a great investment. And I've actually had people who, in we have a construction material supply business. Someone really wanted to get in construction. They were in property management. So they actually spent 2 days in our company, kind of like seeing, after they'd gone through interview processes and testing and assessments. Okay, now let's see, you've never done this job. You get to see what it's really like for 2 days. And after 2 days, they were like, I think I'm going to stay in property management. And I'm like, great, no problem. Because if I would have hired them based off of their desire to work in construction, but them not really understanding what the job is, they would have been miserable after their first week, and they would have spent the next 2 or 3 months finding a new job, and then they would have quit. And so 3 months later, I'd be back at square one. And that would have been a waste of time and money for everyone. So, so it's really helpful to have that shadow day.
Yeah, that's such a good day, which I don't think a lot of people in our industries or even outside our industry even do. So
right, most industries don't.
Yeah, that's such a good thing. And like you said, to pay them, but that is actually a really small, tiny investment compared to if they was going to be with you for a few months. You invest them in other ways, and actually they're not happy anyway, so they're going to go.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow. It's been absolutely amazing talking to you. I could talk to you for way much longer, but with our time differences, I will let you go. But I know you've got something for our listeners. So did you want to share what that is?
Yeah. So if you, I've got two things, if that's okay.
Of course.
But you can email, okay, let me slow down a little bit. So I have a how to implement profit first guide, and I have, a how to hire 5-star employees guide. Since we hit 2 topics today, we have 2 how-to guides for them. And so to get the profit first guide, you're going to go on WhatsApp, and you are going to text profit first as one word to 1-909-741-1321. And for the how to hire 5-star employees guide, you are going to text never settle as one word, never settle, to that same number, 1-909-741-1321 on WhatsApp.
I love that. I haven't had any guest give us a WhatsApp number to be able to get something from. I love that.
Great.
That's so clever. I'm going to put in the show notes the numbers and the wording, so everyone can, if you're driving, don't start writing numbers down. So just check the show notes and it will all be there for you. So I highly recommend you grab them 2 guides. Danielle, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your expertise. I really, really appreciate it.
Thank you. Cheers to another profitable day.